The Last of Us has got most of us hooked on HBO Max, and recently, the co-creator of HBO's hit show gave an update on a possible second season. For those of you who haven't started watching yet,
There he is! He's in here!
The Last of Us is based on the popular PlayStation 3 game of the same name. Pedro Pascal plays Joel Miller.
Stay here.
A hardened zombie apocalypse vet and a black market smuggler. After a transaction falls through, Joel and Tess join the Fireflies, a revolutionary group. They're told to safely remove 14-year-old orphan Ellie from a strongly defended quarantine zone. Ellie is a sharp, foul-mouthed little orphan.
Count slowly and clearly from 1 to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Slowly and clearly.
1.
And even if the smugglers initially don't wish to do it, they soon realize how important Ellie is when she tells them she's immune to the fungal infection that's killing everyone on Earth. Neil Druckmann, the show's co-creator, talked to BuzzFeed about the possibility of The Last of Us coming back for a second season. He said that season 2 has already been talked about and that any future stories will be based on the games. Even though nothing is set in stone according to him, the first episode received such an insane reaction that the team is praying for people to keep watching so that there's more story to tell. Now here's the thing, whether or not The Last of Us gets a second season depends on how the audience likes the show. As you know, Warner Brothers and HBO have recently canceled a lot of TV shows and movies. This pretty much shows that the company is now more careful about which projects to put into production. But the first episode of The Last of Us was HBO's second highest debut ever, and episode 2 brought in 22% more viewers. And you can say I was one of them. This makes it likely that the popular show will be back for another season. Craig Mazin, one of the co-creators, said that he has no desire to keep making it if there's no end in sight. But the creators also don't want the show to overstay its welcome and reduce its insanely massive viewership. I mean, it makes sense. The storytellers only want to tell stories that have already been told in the video game franchise. But it's not just the creators who want that to happen. The actors who are playing in the video game adaptation are also quite hopeful about another season.
Holy shit. This guy was a genius. Why was the music on?
If you didn't reset the countdown every few weeks, this playlist.
Bella Ramsey, who's playing Ellie in the show, said in an interview that it's pretty likely that there will be a second season if certain things happen. She talked about her personal growth, mentioning how she was ignorant and a non-gamer before she started working in The Last of Us. But now she knows that digital games are so much richer than she originally thought. And I agree with her too. With an adaptation like The Last of Us, people are developing a better point of view of video games. But as much as everyone loves the adaptation, because of how the story aligns so closely with the video game, some fans are having second thoughts about Season 2 having a similar direction. Some are talking about how Joel Miller's death in The Last of Us Part 2 was the most shocking and controversial in the history of video games. In fact, it started a lot of trouble with the second game. It was the most daring thing the sequel could have done to kill Joel so early in the game and give control to a completely new character. But even though many people could argue that it was important to the story of that game, it shouldn't be done again in the second season of the show. The reason is that Pedro Pascal's performance as Joel is one of the best things about the show, and killing him off at the beginning of Season 2 would be like repeating history. Fans who have played the games and those who haven't could have a lot more to say about this decision if Joel was killed. Moreover, the scenes between Joel and Ellie are one of the few things about The Last of Us Part 2 that most fans agree on. These parts of the game build on the ending of the first game, which wasn't very clear, and make the relationship between the two characters very complicated.
You fly in one of those?
A few times, sure.
So lucky.
Didn't feel like it at the time. Get shoved into a middle C, pay $12 for a sandwich.
Dude, you got to.
But I think it would be interesting to see how the actors in the live-action show bring these scenes to life. With Ellie figuring out what Joel did in the first game, this would be a great way to set up Season 2 for their characters, especially for Bella Ramsey's Ellie. And honestly, the emotional depth of Joel and Ellie's connection in the second game could be beautifully adapted to the big screen, sort of in a way that would please most fans. But to avoid the hard work of trying to adapt the second game and maintain its hype without ruining the narrative experience, you could also just not do it at all. I mean, the first game ends on a vague but satisfying note, and Joel and Ellie are in the right place, even though it might be too tempting to skip Season 2. Keeping the show at just one season could be a way to avoid the problem, and fans of both the games and the show should be happy with that. If The Last of Us Part 2 story was told in a way that was true to the game, it would not be the first time that fans of an HBO show had a lot to say about it. Remember Season 8 of Game of Thrones, which caused a lot of trouble? That has been a dark cloud over HBO for many years. Fans still talk about how disappointed they were with the last season of the popular fantasy show, and splitting up another one of their fan bases would mean another loss for HBO, even though there's no official confirmation of Season 2 for The Last of Us. Let's say it would be best not to adapt Part 2 as much as the show has done with the first game, but apart from fan theories, if I assume that some of the events from The Last of Us Part 2 will be in the second season, I'm pretty sure I can make some guesses about what might happen. The second game basically takes place 5 years after its first part. Joel and Ellie, who's now 19, are living in Jackson, Wyoming. On a routine patrol, Joel and his brother Tommy meet a woman named Abby and save her from a group of infected people. From there, they go to an outpost that her group is using as a hideout. The group used to be the Fireflies, but is now called the Washington Liberation Front, and interestingly, the group attacks the brothers when they get there. The thing is, Ellie and her girlfriend go to look for Tommy and Joel after a series of events that I won't spoil here. But when Ellie gets there, she finds that Abby has killed Joel. Then Tommy, Ellie, and Dina go to Seattle to look for Abby, and on their way there, they run into the Seraphites, a religious cult fighting the WLF for control of the city. Although there's a lot more that happens, the main point is that Joel doesn't get very far in the story, but it's likely possible that most of the second season will be about Ellie, Dina, Abby, and maybe even Tommy, and Joel might only show up in the first few episodes before he dies or in flashbacks later on. But who knows? At this point, anything can happen. Anyways, that's all I know about The Last of Us Season 2 story and fan theories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.